Hi, I'm Jim Gordon, and you're watching Market 1 Minute. Joining us is Peter Evans. He is the CEO and Director of Xtract One Technologies. Peter, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me today, Jim.
You're quite welcome, sir. Okay, let's tell our viewers about Xtract One and the problem your technology is designed to solve.
Well, it's a great place to start. We're all familiar with walking through metal detectors.
Yeah.
You know, through the airports or going to your favorite sporting event and things like that. Well, that was a product that was used for a time 50 years ago.
Right.
When you perhaps, Jim, walked around with a leather wallet in your pocket, maybe a watch, maybe a key.
Yeah.
And so metal was a good proxy for a weapon. In today's world, which is getting more and more unsafe, it no longer applies when more people are carrying more metallic devices on them. The lines are longer when we want to have a better guest experience when we're paying $5,000 to go see Taylor Swift.
Right.
And so, you know, you have this juxtaposition of guest experience and security. What we do is we solve that problem with purpose-built sensors and AI software that allows a person to walk through in the system and go, that's a laptop, that's a smartphone, that's a gun, that's a knife. So people stream right in with a great guest experience without the inconvenience of standing online for security reasons.
I think, and this is something we have all experienced and can relate to, is it safe to say that traditional security screening often forces venues to choose between safety and convenience? I mean, I want to be safe, but I don't want to stand in line for 2 hours.
Exactly.
Tell us about how your technology is changing that equation.
Yeah, always. It's a great question. And there's always been this kind of headbutting between the guest experience people who want you to get you in a venue fast, or teachers in schools or hospitals who want to serve you quickly. But the more and more security that we apply, the poorer the guest experience gets. You stand in longer lines. You know, think of it like in today when you're doing online banking. You used to just enter your name and password. Well, now you're getting a text and you got to enter in a code and you got to do the CAPTCHA and all these. More and more layers of security create more and more inconvenience.
Right.
But it's necessary. There's a saying that, you know, security is always too much until it's never enough.
That's a great line.
And more people, you know, they don't want the inconvenience of security until such time as an incident has occurred. Right. And look around what's happening every single day. The headlines in the newspaper, there's another unfortunate stabbing in a hospital where people are there to give care. There's an unfortunate firearms incident. Nobody wants these things in society, but nobody wants the inconvenience. And we solve that conundrum by giving people both.
It's interesting. Just I want to stay with the venues thing. It does put enormous stress traditionally on the venues and their security.
Yes.
Let's tell our viewers about a project you recently installed at the P&E.
Yes.
How is that showcasing Xtract One to potential customers around the globe?
Well, this is a great example. This is a global sporting event. And when you've got multiple individuals flying in from other countries, maybe speaking different languages, having different expectations from, you know, what their security experience might have been going to an event.
Right.
You know, you have to think about when you're bringing in that kind of diverse kind of an environment of people to an event that could be a potential target.
Right.
If somebody wanted to do something malicious, you want to have the notoriety, so you're going to choose a global event like that. And so by bringing in advanced technology, using basically software that's digitally transforming the way we do things, right? I can create a great welcoming guest experience for tens of thousands of people going to that global sporting event every day, without them all of a sudden having to go through unfortunate experiences or long lines. This morning I was at an event and there was a long line of probably 5,000 to 6,000 people. Wow. Waiting to get in 3 hours before the doors opened. But they were all in within about 5, 10, 15 minutes.
Xtract One has continued to grow its business and expand its deployments across multiple sectors.
Yes.
What aspects of the company's recent financial performance and business momentum are you most encouraged by?
Wow, that's a great question. We announced our earnings yesterday, and it was a wonderful earnings call this morning. There's no one thing that I can say I'm most proud of. We continue to grow the top line, the bookings, which very, very quickly, 25, 50% every year, year over year, and that trajectory is not going away. The demand and the tailwinds behind what we do and people wanting to secure the venues is very high. We've built a model where we can now convert those bookings to revenues very quickly. And we're doing that with a very operationally efficient model. So while we may be scaling operationally in single digits per year, while the top line is growing 50% every year, that's taken us to cash flow break even essentially. And so here we are finding ourselves in a very unique position where we get people asking us, are you going to invest for growth and maybe be cash flow negative? Or are you going to try and get to cash flow break even? The answer is yes. Right? We've got a high growth engine that has driven its way to cash flow break even at the same time. So we can serve both kind of interests of the market.
Peter, last question for you. What should investors look for over the next 12 months from Xtract One Technologies? And also, there's a two-parter. Is there a catalyst or a focal point that you can talk about as well?
The next 12 months, repeated success, like we just announced in the last quarter. We now have got all the foundation in place for the business. We've spent a lot of time getting our manufacturing processes right so we can scale very significantly. The customer success model that we've put in place has created not customers, but advocates.
Right.
And so those advocates are telling their friends and so on and so on. So the business is growing successfully that way. And so I think the answer is this is the new norm for us as a company, right? With what we announced yesterday.
Right.
Look for more. Now, to answer your question about the catalyst, we delivered a piece of technology which people questioned, could we even do it?
Right, of course.
I can walk through an entryway with a backpack, with a laptop, with a tablet, with a charger, metal water bottle, smartphones, all these items. Imagine yourself trying to walk through the TSA checkpoint with all those items.
Yeah.
How long would it take you to get through?
A while.
And all the inspections, and we all had that negative experience.
Yeah.
We've now deployed in numerous schools across the US, and it's a massive market. There's 130,000 K through 12 schools, so about a $20 billion market.
Right.
That we can uniquely serve with every child just walking in like there was nothing there. But if there is a gun or a knife, the system will specifically say there's a gun in the backpack, a knife in the pocket. While 66 kids per minute are just walking in and going out the door.
Right.
There's a tragedy that's occurring in the US with guns in schools. We can uniquely solve that problem with the innovation we brought to the market, and that's the next big thing.
Peter, this is great stuff. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Jim. Thank you for having me today.
Quite welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jim Gordon. Thanks for watching this Market 1 Minute on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with other videos that we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click on this list to see other great videos from Market 1. And thank you again for watching.